welcome to Healthy Living on Trust Television. I'm Aisha Salihu. The Harmattan season is in full effect with dusty, dry winds and cold mornings and evenings. While people in the south feel its effect mildly, Harmattan in the north has been more severe. Some people may confuse the season for winter, but Harmattan season differs from winter because it is characterized by cold, dry, dusty-laden wind and also wild fluctuations in the ambient temperatures of the day and night. In some countries in West Africa, the heavy amount of dust in the air can severely limit visibility and block the sun for several days, comparable to a heavy fog. This effect is known as the Harmattan haze. It costs airlines millions of dollars and cancelled, delayed and diverted flights each year, as it is witnessed in some parts of Nigeria like Kano, Kaduna and Katsina, among others. Our focus on the program today is to establish health hazards in the Harmattan season as exposed to humans, especially the vulnerable groups such as people with the sickle cell disease, people with asthmatic conditions, and children. Other health effects on humans may include conditions of the skin such as dryness of the skin, dried or chapped lips, eyes, and respiratory system. Residents in parts of the north have lamented the biting cold and dryness in the region, with many forced to stay at home or explore other alternatives.
Well, actually, it's a harsh weather anyway, but it's a part of nature we have to cope with. So far, I've been experiencing dry lips, flu, at times cough, an itchy skin, which I suppose is due to dryness, and hot afternoons with very cold nights. Then the dust, actually, except if you are riding an air-conditioned car, you have to cope with the dust, which carry with it a lot of infections. It has not actually been a friendly weather, I must confess. I like doing this naturally. For instance, my lips, I use shea butter. I use shea butter. Then on my skin, I use petroleum jelly. This is not the time for you to look for the expensive cream and others. No. So many cream cannot cope with this weather. So you have to make use of the cream you know has a lot of Vaseline in it, a lot of oil in it, at least to keep your skin fine. So this time around, you don't need plenty, maybe cosmetic, this or no. Just get something that you know that this is rich in oil and try to polish your skin. Then for the dust, if you are not using an air-conditioned car, I advise you get a face mask to keep the dust away from your nose and from your mouth. And if you are walking along the streets, there is nothing wrong with you using sunshades, especially under the hot sun. It will help a lot.
Harmattan, like we all know, is one of the seasons that we experience here in Nigeria as a result of the hot, dry, and dusty winds from Sahara Desert through the Gulf of Guinea onto West Africa. So we have a fair share of this geographical change of weather in the sense that it brings lots of health implications, comfort, and all that to the populace, in this case, our patients here. So it comes with enormous health challenges, and there are many vulnerable groups, the children, the elderly, and then the general population at large. But the children, the elderly are mostly affected. Then we have these special groups also, the asthmatic, the sickle cell disease patients. In as much as, yes, it's a cold season, it's a cold attributed weather, it can be hot also. And you have health implications ranging from the wind, the dust, carrying this some viral, bacterial particles in the air, and then it's a natural way of transmitting these various pathogens, disease-causing organisms to the general population. There ranges from things like common cold, you have cough, excessive sneezing, conjunctivitis, because like I told you, it carries many bacterial viruses, can be from those things, or just allergic conjunctivitis because of the dust and the dryness nature of of the wind. So we have many health challenges from cold, cough, sneezing, conjunctivitis, dehydration, heat strokes, and all that, and then allergic exacerbations. That's one of the major things we see this period, sickle cell crisis, and all that. For children, this period they are faced with upper respiratory tract infections from the viruses, respiratory syncytials, dehydration from the weather itself, cracks their skin, cracks their lips. Sometimes even come down with bleedings, nose bleeds, because this air is dry and it's dusty, so it cracks the mucosa, that's the thin linings of the nose, the lips. Then when they sneeze or cough, with the forceful nature of this stimulus makes these tiny blood vessels to bleed. So they are faced with upper respiratory infection, dehydration from the weather, also diarrhea disease, because we have some of these viruses that also cause diarrhea disease carried in this. So we're seeing cases of pharyngitis, pharyngotonsillitis, acute diarrhea diseases. For the elderly, those that have one or two medical illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, and all that. In diabetes, it can make them dehydrated, making their blood sugar level staggering in this season. So we encourage, as I believe we're going to talk about, so we encourage them to do certain practices to also ameliorate these effects that the weather comes along with. Then the sickle cell patient, they have various kinds of crises because dehydration, stress of the weather itself predisposes them to various kinds of crises, from vaso-occlusive crisis to anemic crisis. This period also, because it's dry and most of the time cold, fluid intake is minimal because it's not easy taking fluid when you're not thirsty. So it predisposes to dehydration, and then they come down with crisis. For the asthmatic, they get acute attacks. Because of the nature of the weather, dust, and all other things that are carrying
Actually, it's not been funny, but thank God everything has been going well. Concerning the health issue, catarrh, cough, and the rest, it's not just funny. You see the dry lips, like I'm always with my wet lip to ensure that my lips are not dry. My cream, I had to buy something better than I used to use before so that my skin would still be fresh and all of that. But it's okay. It's a season, so what else do we have to say than to face it? The cold, I have my blankets. I don't joke with that because me, naturally, I don't like cold. So I'm always warm. Like I go out with my jackets and all of that.
I want to thank Almighty God who has given me health, and I don't think I have any issues so far, but at the same time I try to take precautionary measures. The measures as I avoid dust, then also smoke, then I take precautions in the kitchen so that anything can be flammable at this season. I've seen some houses out of carelessness got into flames. So for me, it has been precautionary, and I said precautionary is better than it's not much to be precaution, it's better than the consequence that we're going to serve. In all honesty, we need more enlightenment on this. This is the time I expect Federal Fire Service to be up and doing, and also all those authorities in respect of fire incident. A lot of things are changing that can ignite fire. Above all, our health, most importantly, we need to look at it, and also the health related authority too need to look at it. Nigerians don't take their health serious until when it happens to them. So I felt, for me, I've been taking precautions.
This weather has affected me several times. Even this time around, it's affecting me. Even now, I am coughing. As you see me now, I am coughing. I have rashes in my body. Yes, it will affect me, yes. I'm just managing it. I know it will pass because it is weather. No one can do anything.
It is important to take precautionary measures during the Harmattan season if one must maintain and achieve optimal health and well-being. We'll go on a quick break now. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining in, this is Healthy Living on Trust Television, and we have been talking about the chilling effects of the Harmattan season and the health hazards it predisposes humans to, where the vulnerable groups are more at risk of complications.
This Harmattan is very bad. It dey somehow. So as you can see, I have catarrh and my baby too have catarrh too. So the weather is not nice. The weather looks so how and the weather is not nice. We are just manage it, not that you can do. The night we used to cover it plenty bedsheet and that one no be enough. The thing will be always disturb and having cold, lots of cold. By this time where we dey now, there is cold.
For prevention and control, there are various levels of prevention and control, but I just want to sum it up in the categories that we've discussed. For the children, it starts from immunization. Immunization is very important because immunization protects them from most of these common diseases that this weather comes with. Get your child immunized early enough. It's not when the child is sick that you say, okay, let's go for this immunization. No, immunization is preparing ahead before the diseases comes. Rota immunization is incorporated in the extended program for immunization. We have other mumps, rubella, and other bacterial protective vaccines that are widely used for immunization nowadays. So it's encouraged that mothers to be get educated about the importance of immunization and vaccinate their children early enough, even ahead of weather changes. Then and also for the children, we also have to wear them protective covering because this wind, this air is dry, it's not moist, like you say, immunity have reduced, and it's dusty. So it predisposes them to dehydration from the skin. So you wear them protective covering to at least cover all the parts that are exposed, regardless of the fact that you can't protect maybe the nose for these children, but for adults, if you are predisposed, if you have predisposition to this kind of condition, we encourage you to wear face mask. Also for children, they have to be fed regularly, starting from the infant to the under 5. You feed them regularly, you moist their skin with emollient moisturizers that will leave at least some level of wetness on the skin. Moist their skin properly, and then wear them protective coverings that are thick enough for the cold weathers. In the night, make sure your windows are shut, ACs are turned off, fans are turned off, because towards the midnight, it gets really, really cold, and sometimes they will slip off and get a upper respiratory tract infection from the windows that are open. And then for the elderly, it's good to also moisturize their skin with emollient moisturizers, oil the skin. There are various recommended moisturizers that have emollients in it that moisturizes and make the skin wet. So it's good we do that to prevent dehydration. Also, feed well, be up to date with your fruits and vegetables for vitamins so that your immune system also take care of this minor things that could be complicated when they come. For the asthmatic, you make inhalers handy because this is a period that we are having many of them come to the clinic with attacks, and these attacks comes in the early hours of the morning towards evening because that is when the weather gets really hazy and all. So you make sure your inhaler is handy, and then take protective medications. There are prophylactic drugs to take to ameliorate or calm or suppress the acute attack when they come so that it doesn't become life-threatening. So make sure you take your drugs as prescribed. For the sickle cell patients, the goal is to stay hydrated, prevent infection as much as possible. We're in an endemic place for malaria, so it's good that they take their drugs as prescribed, because among their drugs, there are malaria prophylaxis that protects them from malaria. So it's good they take their drug as prescribed, make sure their household is fumigated. Now we don't have much of the stagnant water, but we still need to fumigate our environment and protect ourselves from malaria. Because in then, this season comes with a lot of stress, and then coming down with malaria or respiratory tract infection complicates the other crisis that comes with this weather. It's good to avoid burning bush as much as we can this season because it can go uncontrolled. And even if you must do that, make sure that you have a control measure to burn bushes. Make sure you don't just set fire on bushes and leave it to burn on its own. Let it be controlled. Most times our people in the rural area, they set fire to bushes mostly in midnight, set fire and just leave it to burn on its own. Wherever it reaches and off itself, that's it. It's actually discouraged. If you must burn bush with control measures so that you can put it off and the extent of the fire will not go beyond where it's expected to reach. Wearing glasses is highly encouraged. Some people wear shades, yes, to make it more, what would I say, there's what we call recommended, to make it look attractive. Some will just wear plain glasses. Yes, the weather is dry and it comes with a lot of dust, viral infections. People sneeze into the air, and this thing is moved at high speed than it used to. So the rate of transmission of some viral infections is very high, e.g. the conjunctivitis, viral conjunctivitis that affects the eye. So it's encouraged that people protect themselves, including wearing glasses. Some wear shades, wear glasses if you can, so that you don't get this, because you don't know where these infections are in the air. So you just have to protect yourself from contracting them on purpose, of course. Personal hygiene cannot be overemphasized. Even in your daily life, you have to practice personal hygiene. Now, there are level of transmission of infections. There's a concept called fomite transmission, where these infections are deposited on inanimate objects, the desk, the buses you enter, chairs and all that. So you come in contact with these things almost every time. So your hand gets soiled with these things, with these pathogens if they are there, and then sometimes unconsciously you take it to your eyes, take it to your nose, take it to your mouth. So you are directly inoculating these bacteria or viruses into your system. So it's good that in as much as personal hygiene is very important, this weather, it should be re-emphasized that we practice hand washing as much as possible so that we don't inoculate these bacteria into places that can cause infection for us. Harmattan it's a weather that we should enjoy in as much as it comes with varying health condition and discomfort. So it's a pertinent that we make a global cry that people should know about the implications of this weather, know how to protect themselves. If you're in the vulnerable group, you get first-hand knowledge on how to protect yourself in that category that you belong. So it cannot be emphasized. It cannot be overemphasized, but it's a good thing you are doing now because this is a program that should be ongoing, even the radio, the TV, the other jingles to play, and then posters in language that they will understand, in different local languages that they will understand. So really compliment your efforts for this kind of program.
What Harmattan means to the skin is that during the dry season, because of the change in the temperature and all of that, we have a higher temperature during the day, and then the temperatures are colder at night. So it's sort of like we have more like a bit of like extremes of temperature more than usual, and then the air is drier, which we would say there's a lower humidity, meaning that there's less moisture in the air. So what this means to the skin is that, number one, the temperatures are high. I'm sure you've heard people say, like in the north here, people say you can fry an egg and then water puddles dry up easily. So you have the same effect on the skin. Okay, so that means that the skin gets to lose more water, and gets dehydrated. The skin also gets dry, because dry skin and dehydrated skin are two different things. That dehydration means that there's loss of water, and then the dryness means there's loss of moisture in general. And then you also have increased incidence of maybe like sunburn and all of that because of the increased temperature. So that's what it means for the skin. And then for people who have allergic skin conditions, maybe people that have like conditions like atopic dermatitis and all of that, this season may mean that they have more itching, more inflammation, and more allergic skin reactions. So that's why the precautionary measures for the skin, we can look at them in different aspects. As far as let me start with the intake. As far as your intake is concerned, that means your water intake should be top notch. This is the time to be hitting your 3 liters, minimum of 3 liters intake a day. That's if you're an adult. For children it varies, but your hydration has to be on point, and then you should also be eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, because those things supply antioxidants to the body and also to the skin. And then antioxidants help the skin to be able to to weather harsh conditions, as it were. It helps the skin healthy and all of that. So that's for your intake on one side. And then externally, your dressing now, the areas that are more commonly affected, like the exposed areas, especially like the feet. For people that have cracked feet, you could wear more of covered shoes, wear stockings. You could also like moisturize your feet, and then just make sure that your feet are covered as much as possible, and then also stay out of the sun as much as possible. That's for physical now. And then for the skin care itself properly, now you have to choose the right product, because for instance there are products that we will say moisturize. Now when we say moisturize the skin, there are 2 types of, let's say, moisturizing products. You have the ones that are like hydrating products, meaning that they supply water to the skin, and then you also have the ones that are like occlusive products, meaning that they help to keep the water in the skin. So your hydrating moisturizers, use skincare products that contain water, because remember we said there's more water loss, so the water has to be replaced to prevent dehydrated skin. So your skincare products should have water in them to be hydrating, and also have the ingredients that help to draw moisture to the skin. Those ingredients are called humectants. Ingredients like glycerin, hyaluronic acid. So your moisturizer for both your face and skin should contain those ingredients. And then after getting water into your skin, you should also keep the water in. That's where your occlusive ingredients come in. Things like Vaseline, oils like shea butter and all of that. Now, a common mistake people make is that during the Harmattan, they use, like people say, I use a lot of shea butter on my skin, only oils. Now what will happen is that your skin will be dehydrated, but the oil will make it shiny, so your skin will be tight like leather. You know how when you polish shoes, the shoes look shiny and all of that, but you haven't really put water in the skin. So we need to avoid that mistake. Put in the water first, and then use your shea butter or Vaseline or whatever to layer on top. If you are not using a cream that is like a heavy moisturizer that has all those ingredients already in the right proportion, you could use a lighter moisturizer. If you are using a lighter moisturizer, like all these the ones in bottles and all of that, you can apply the moisturizer first, and then when you are done, you can now apply your Vaseline or your body oil or your shea butter on top. Okay, or alternatively, which is not best though, moisturize your skin when it's damp. When you're just coming out of the bathroom, don't towel off the water completely. Make sure that there's still some water left on your body, and then you can moisturize your skin. Here with me, I have a lotion, I have a water-based body butter, and then I have raw shea butter, right? So what I'm trying to say is that during this season, instead of just applying this alone, use products that also contain water. Okay, now if you don't have something like this that is like a butter that has water, what you could do is that you could apply lotion. I will just use the back of my hand to demonstrate. This is okay. This is a new, we haven't used it before. So this is a lotion. So if you want to layer, which is what some people do, you can apply this first. There's a lot that came out. You can apply this first, right? This has supplied water to your skin, and then you now follow up with an oil, like a pure oil, or this is raw shea butter or Vaseline, and put it over. So the first product has hydrated, which is what we're talking about. Now this is to lock in the moisture. So what this does is lock in the moisture, right? So this is how you should apply. Start with a light lotion and then this. However, if you don't want to do that, you could just go for a product that is already well formulated to give you what you want at one go. But using this alone, if you have to use something like this alone, this is raw shea butter or Vaseline or baby oil. If you have to use this alone, that means that your skin should be damp. When you take your bath, don't take off all the water. You understand? Leave as much, as much water as possible, and then apply this on damp skin, or as much wetness as you can manage. That also, the water from your bath is like the moisture, and this is now like sealing in the moisture. But don't apply this on just completely dry skin.
In an earlier advisory, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency says in places where visibility is impaired by dust haze, motorists should drive cautiously and adhere to recommended tire pressure by the manufacturers, especially during the hot days, to safeguard against tire burst, while people with respiratory issues should apply necessary caution, especially for outdoor activities. Airline operators are also advised to get updated weather reports from NIMET officers for effective planning of their operations, stressing that with the warmer temperatures, there are higher chances of clear air turbulence. With that, we've come to the end of the program. Do not forget to connect with us across all of our social media platforms for comments, suggestions, and contributions. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thanks for watching.